Hey Gators and sports fans, get all your Gator talk, news, analysis, and opinions on the Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning podcast. Find us on your favorite podcast platform or watch us on Facebook Live between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. every weekday. Pod Up, because we are Gator fans. So say it's great to be a Florida Gator.
And welcome to a Thursday edition of Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Got a good show lined up today. We're going to crank it up here in just a second with the Orlando Sentinel's Mike Bianchi, All-American high school fullback or nose tackle, one of those. And the second portion of the show will be joined by our college football analyst, Brent Beaird, talking about college football. But first, let's go to the Titan MR hotline and head on down to Orlando, and we're joined by Mike Bianchi. What's up, Bianchi?
Hey, Shaner, I'm a podcast expert now. Look at this. I've got a light that lights me up. Huh?
Yes, no doubt about it. You're big time. You got your Magic jerseys back there. You've been out at the YMCA hooping a little bit.
Little JJ Redick jersey back there.
There you go. Bianchi, let's crank it up. There's a lot of talk in the last couple of days about the college football playoff expanding, which I think they should. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, I don't know of, there may be some who don't think it should be expanded, but why wouldn't you want more teams in the playoffs? It adds more excitement. Every other sport is adding playoff games. Why? Because fans love it. It keeps more fans interested throughout the course of the season. You don't want to get it to a point where the college football season is meaningless, but still you could have an 8-team, even a 12-team playoff, which is what they're talking about. And still the regular season is going to have a lot of meaning. And the 4-team playoff has become stale. I think we all agree with that. Same teams seemingly getting in every year. But, I think everybody who's a college football fan would welcome this.
Yeah, because I like the 12 teams. I like the 5 Power 5 champs, the one group of 5, which your boys down at UCF probably would have been in it a couple of times, probably Cincinnati last year.
Yeah.
And you got, 6 other at-larges. So I saw somewhere the other day, I think it was Peter Burns, went back for the last 6 years or something like that. And if they had the 12-team playoff, it would have been at least 4 SEC teams in each year. So I like it. I think having one group of 5, I still think the group of 5 may ought to have their own little playoff. But UCF has had some really good teams. And like I said, Cincinnati. Do you think those group of 5 should be a part of it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, to me, that's one of the great things. And again, I'm not saying that they would win it, all right? But there have been some group of 5 teams in the past. I go all the way back. When Urban Meyer was at Utah, all right, and they finished unbeaten the year before he took the Florida job, and they had Alex Smith at quarterback. They played in the Fiesta Bowl that year. They blew out Pitt in the Fiesta Bowl. Pitt, I think, was the Big East champion that year. That Utah team, I don't care. They could have played with anybody that year. They had that spread offense that was sort of new back then, and I just think they could have played with anybody. So I would love to see the group of 5 team in it. And the great thing about the NCAA basketball tournament is the Cinderellas. You want to have Cinderella. You don't want to lock Cinderella out of the ball if you have a playoff, because again, most years Cinderella's not going to do anything, but there are certain years where you could have a magical run, sort of like we saw George Mason in the NCAA basketball tournament a few years ago when they got to the Final Four before Billy Donovan's boys destroyed him. But still, that was a magical run, and I think college football misses out on that.
Yeah, I agree. Speaking of the Power 5s, the group of 5s, down at UCF, they have a new coach in Gus Malzahn. How's it going down there for Gus?
Gus is, again, he's got a bunch of transfers from Auburn, which you would expect. He's, obviously a lot of excitement to have a big name coach like Gus Malzahn at UCF. It's not like the guy was terrible when he got fired at Auburn. He never had a losing record there. Obviously, Auburn has expectations that some people would consider very unrealistic. I think Gus Malzahn's going to do a tremendous job at UCF, unlike some of these other coaches that have come through, the hot candidates like Scott Frost and then Josh Heupel, who are using UCF as a stepping stone. I think I think Gus Malzahn is just the right age. He's, 57, 58 years old. I don't think he's going to use this as a stepping stone job. I think this is where he wants to be. I think he wants to try to build UCF into a group of 5 power. And let's face it, if there's a 12-team playoff, you probably have a better chance of getting into the playoff as the best group of 5 team than you do if you're in the SEC, because it's still going to be hard to get into the playoff if you're the 4th best SEC team, although you might. But still, I just think Gus Malzahn has the potential and the recruiting ties and all of that and the name recognition to make UCF the modern day Boise State of group of 5.
Yes. Speaking of the past 2 coaches at UCF, Scott Frost was a hot commodity when he was coming out. People wanted him here at the University of Florida. Struggled quite a bit at his alma mater. Josh Heupel, I think, is going to do some good things at Tennessee. But your prediction, which one's the better football coach?
I got to tell you, I think it's Josh Heupel. I really do. I mean, Scott Frost, again, he came to UCF, and in 2 years he had them unbeaten. But Josh Heupel came into UCF. First of all, Josh Heupel was a hell of an offensive coordinator at Missouri, all right, in the SEC. He took over that Missouri program, whose offense was terrible. They were like 125th in the country. And in 1 year, he had them almost in the top 10 in offense. Josh Heupel knows how to coach offense. I don't think he deserved to be fired at Oklahoma by Bob Stoops. But still, I think Josh Heupel's a hell of an offensive coach. And right now, I would say Josh Heupel is the better coach over Scott Frost. By the way, Scott Strickland probably pretty happy that he didn't hire Scott Frost 4 years ago, huh?
No doubt. If you've got joint pain in your knees, shoulders, hip, or back that won't go away, do you have those pains there, Bianchi?
Absolutely, I do, yeah.
All right, well, you need to check out QC Kinetics for long-lasting relief. No surgery, drugs, or downtime. Schedule your free consultation at QC Kinetics, 352-400-4550. Call them today. That's QC Kinetics, 352-400-4550. We're speaking with Mike Bianchi.
Let me type that number into my cell phone real quick.
There you go. You want it again? It is 352-400-4550. Hey, tell them we told you to call. They'll give you a special rate.
I want the Shane Matthews treatment, baby.
That's right. We're speaking with Mike Bianchi on the Titan MR hotline. You can follow him on Twitter at Bianchi Writes. Before we talk to the head ball coach, I know you had him on your show a couple of days ago. The Orlando Magic are looking for a new basketball coach. Who's he going to be?
Oh God, nobody knows. I mean, it'll probably be some young assistant coach that nobody's ever heard of. I mean, people are throwing out names. You know how we are in the media and on social media. Penny Hardaway, who used to play for the Magic, he's the head coach at the University of Memphis. People are throwing out Becky Hammond, the trailblazing woman assistant coach for the San Antonio Spurs. There's a lot of names out there. And again, it's like I wrote in my column the other day in the Orlando Sentinel. It doesn't matter who the Orlando Magic's new coach is. They've had good coaches. Steve Clifford, who just left, was a good coach. Frank Vogel was a good coach who didn't have good players. Scott Skiles was a good coach. The NBA is a players' league. Unless they get a superstar in here or a couple of stars in here, the coach is irrelevant.
Yeah, that's a good point. It is a players' league, no question about that. You had the head ball coach on. He's opening up his restaurant here in Gainesville. They've had private events, just haven't had enough people working that want to work that they can hire to open up the entire restaurant. What did the head ball coach have to say to you?
Well, I was trying to give him a little PR tip, Shane. I said, hey, if you really want to get people talking about that restaurant, you invite all the sports writers and the sports talk radio hosts up there, and you wine and dine them one night, have a party for them in your new restaurant, let them sample all the good food and desserts and all of that. And he goes, That's how you lose money in a restaurant, letting freeloaders like you guys in there. So I'm sure he'll do something for the hacks, though.
Yes, he definitely will. There's no question. Refresh your vehicle and your brand with a vehicle wrap from RapSpot. June is your lucky month at RapSpot. Mention promo code Shane, receive 13% off your vehicle wrap. A few more minutes with Mike Bianchi here. Give me your thoughts on Dan Mullen's contract extension along with Nick Saban's.
Well, yeah, I think when Nick Saban got his contract extension, everybody, all other 13 coaches in the league were like, are you freaking kidding me? He's going to be around through 2028. I actually think that Nick Saban, and I had this conversation with Spurrier when he was on our show. Spurrier was the first $2 million a year coach in college football. He sort of blazed the trail for these big money contracts in college football. And when I remember when Spurrier made $2 million a year, and everybody was saying, what are you doing paying a college football coach $2 million a year? And I was like, Steve Spurrier he deserves more than that for the amount of money, the booster support he brought to the University of Florida. Mm-hmm. Nick Saban at $10 million a year, he is underpaid. Think about this, Shane Matthews. If not for Alabama's dynasty, if not for Nick Saban and what he's done in the SEC, to me, he's the reason, and Alabama's the reason that the SEC network, when it came out, just exploded because they had this dynasty that people wanted to turn on the SEC network and SEC football games and watch. I think Nick Saban has made billions of dollars for the SEC and for Alabama, so he's certainly worth it. Dan Mullen's contract is interesting. Obviously, he's now the third highest paid coach in the SEC right now, behind only Nick Saban and Ed Orgeron, two coaches who won national championships. Dan Mullen's never won a championship of any kind. Been a hell of a coach at Mississippi State and Florida, but never won a championship. If you're making $7.5 million a year, and again, Florida fans are demanding anyway, now they're really going to expect Dan Mullen to win something. And it's going to be hard because he's still got Kirby Smart there, who's probably going to get a raise to make more than Dan Mullen soon enough. And so, it puts extra pressure on Dan Mullen, obviously. But again, there's pressure on the Gator coach no matter what his contract is. Yeah,
so as we sit here on June 10th, can the Gators, obviously there's two huge games on the schedule, Alabama at home and then Georgia and Jacksonville. And I've told many people, I don't know if we can beat Alabama. I'd love to, but the Georgia game means way more because that you can control your own destiny getting to Atlanta. Right now, as we sit, Mike Bianchi, what do you think the Gators' record is going to be next year?
Well, obviously, there's a lot of question marks with the new quarterback and the defense and how bad it was last year. Wow. I think Dan Mullen is a really, really good offensive coach. I think Emory Jones is going to be a really good quarterback for the Gators, more of the Dan Mullen style of quarterback. It all depends on that defense. And if Todd Grantham can get that defense playing the way it played a couple years ago, I think he's a good defensive coordinator. So I'm going to say the Gators are going to, 10-2. I'll go 10-2 for the Gators this year.
Well, who are their two losses to?
Alabama, probably, even though that game's in Gainesville. I'll tell you what, though, Dan Mullen could earn that contract extension in one game if he beats the Sabinator in Gainesville.
Could you imagine? Huh? Could you imagine the Gator Nation if that happens?
Oh,
my goodness.
Yeah, that place is going to be a zoo, too, for the Alabama game. But probably Alabama, and I don't know. I don't have the schedule in front of me, but they'll probably lose another game. But hell, they could lose 3. We don't know.
Who knows?
What's your prediction?
Well, I haven't looked at the schedule, and it's my show, so I have to ask you that. Okay. You call me on your show, and then I'll make my prediction. I'll have to do some research and think about it. Last thing for you. I think you've written a couple pieces on Urban recently, with Tebow being there. Give me your thoughts on the whole. I don't want to call it a circus, but it is kind of a circus.
Yeah, well, again, obviously, the only reason Tebow's getting a chance is because of his connection with Urban Meyer. But again, here's the part I don't understand about. And I just wrote a column about this. Like the Tennessee Titans just signed a college wrestler from Michigan to play offensive line. They hadn't played football since high school. He's 26 years old. This happens in the NFL all the time. Organizations take chances on players just to see, all right? Now, if Tim Tebow makes the team and he doesn't deserve to be on the team, Shane, you were in the NFL a long time. You know that locker room is not going to put up with that. But if he's good enough to be, a spot player or some gadget type player every now and then, everybody knows he's going to work hard. But again, I don't think it's going to work out. I didn't think it was a good idea to do it, but I don't see any harm in it right now.
Yeah, I'll be surprised if he makes it. I wanted to ask you too. You covered Mackenzie Milton.
I told Chris Doring this the other day. I still think he'd be a better tight end right now at age 47 than Tebow.
From a route running standpoint and catching the football, yeah, but I don't think either one of them would be very good putting their hand on the ground trying to block Aaron Donald. Mackenzie Milton, you covered him. I thought he was a phenomenal player while he was healthy. I assume he's close to being 100% healthy, but it looks like he's going to be FSU's starter, right?
That's what it looks like. Again, we'll see. He hadn't had any contact during spring practice or anything like that. But that was a devastating knee injury, Shane. You've had teammates who've had knee injuries where they had nerve damage. Do you remember Ed Chester?
Mm-hmm.
Ed Chester had the nerve damage. He was never able to be the same. Mackenzie Milton, it appears his knee is close to healthy, but he hasn't been hit yet. It's going to be interesting because when he was the quarterback at UCF and he was magical, part of his appeal was he was elusive. He could make some plays with his legs. If that's not there, then I don't think he'll be nearly as effective a quarterback. I hope he's able to come back, because what a comeback story that would be. This guy almost had his leg amputated 2 years ago in that USF game. So it would be a phenomenal story if he starts against Notre Dame in the opener for Florida State. And if they somehow were able to pull that game out, man, that would be a Rudy type story.
Yeah.
Rudy.
How's your golf game, Bianchi?
I played in Dooley's charity golf tournament of the Bob Dooley Invitational in honor of his father. I played in that a few weeks ago. I'm bad as usual. Terrible.
I want to ask you this. I'm going to read This Day in Sports, which is brought to you by Comfort Temp. Comfort is our business. Peace of mind is our promise. Comfort Temp's now hiring team members with all levels of experience, great culture, and benefits and opportunity for growth. $1,000 signing bonus for qualified positions. Call Comfort Temp at 352-376-2366. This Day in Sports, I don't know how old you were at this time, but in 1977, Bianchi, tell me if you remember this. American golfer Al Geiberger becomes the first player in the history to post a sub-60 score. He shot 59 in a PGA Tour sanctioned event during the second round of the Danny Thomas Memphis Classic at Colonial Country Club up in Cordova, Tennessee. He was the first guy to shoot 59. Were you covering sports back in those days?
I was not covering sports. I was a teeny bopper back then. I was not covering sports, but you probably don't remember Danny Thomas, do you, Shane Matthews? Danny Thomas, great entertainer back in the day.
He always had one of those not dance-a-thons, but one of those where you raise money on TV.
That was Jerry Lewis. That wasn't Danny Thomas.
Oh, my bad. I thought it was one of those guys. So anyway, all right, Bianchi. You've been back to Interlochen. They've inducted you into the Hall of Fame yet?
I'm not in the Interlochen Hall of Fame. I don't think they even, but I am the most famous person from Interlochen, but I am the St. John's River Community College Hall of Fame in Palatka. You probably didn't know that. I'm also in the University of Florida Journalism Hall of Fame. Are you in the Hall of Fame at Florida? You should be.
Yeah, I went in, and I think you got to be out of school for 5 years or 10
What are you
years
in? What Hall of Fame is it?
It's the University of Florida Athletic Hall of Fame.
Yeah, you definitely.
You're in way more Hall of Fames than I am, Bianchi.
Well, you're in the Pascagoula.
I am into that too. I'm in that too. Hey, man, let everybody know how they can listen to Bianchi every morning.
You can listen to me. Just go to 969thegame.com. We're on from 6 to 9:30 every morning. Just press the listen live button. You can listen to me. You can also read my columns at orlandosentinel.com and check me out on Twitter at Bianchi Writes.
All right. That's Mike Bianchi. Appreciate it, my man.
Thanks, Shaner. Good talking to you.
Yes, sir. That's Mike Bianchi. Join us on the Titan Tomorrow Hotline. Going to take our first time out of this program. Come back. We'll be joined by Brent Beaird talking a little college football. You're watching and listening to Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We'll be right back.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, where you matter most. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. G-Tech Sport, keep your athletes in the game with G-Tech Sport. QC Kinetics, non-surgical regeneration, live pain-free. Celebration Point Town Center, Center State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Big Mills Cheesesteaks, MB Listing, Cornerstone Financial, McDonald's of Gainesville, My IT Masters, Gainesville Neon and Signs, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Chick-fil-A on Archer Road, Avra and Smith, Dowling Signs, Chomp Harder Apparel, Ruse Ogra Agent, State Farm Insurance, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit potupwithshane.com and click the advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
For all type of restaurant people, managers, servers, bartenders, hosts, cooks, dishwashers, bussers. If you think you're good in the restaurant business, then give us a call.
Spurrier's Gridiron Grill job fair is open now. All you have to do is go to spurriersdraft.com and fill out an application.
We're looking for the good team members, and we're looking for people with a wonderful attitude that can make Spurrier's Gridiron Grill the best we can possibly be. To apply, go to spurriersdraft.com.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Celebration Points where the Gators go to celebrate with premium brands like Regal Cinemas, Dave & Buster's, Nike, Le Macaron, French Pastries, Kilwins, and coming summer of 2021, HBC's new restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Visor's Tailgate and Rooftop Bar. We will see you at Celebration Point where the Gators go to celebrate. I want to thank Mike Bianchi for joining us on the Titan Tomorrow Hotline. Now we're going to go to our college football analyst, Brent Beaird. You can follow him on Twitter at Brent Beaird. Good morning, Brent. How are you?
Shane, doing well. Always good to be on with you. And listen, there was not a whole lot to talk about a year ago in June. Brother, that has changed considerably when you think about we've got playoff talk going on, and we've got magazines that are out, and we've got Hall of Fame ballots. We've got possible expansion going on, along with what we have with our normal team. Shane, it is a busy, busy June so far, and it's just got started.
Yeah, that's true. And we kind of touched on it with Mike Bianchi, but I want to get your thoughts, Brent. It looks like now we are going to expand the playoffs. Two-part question here. There's a lot of talk now about a 12-team playoff. And I guess my question to you, Brent, is I know they're under contract with TV networks and all that stuff, and they may not be able to do it until, 2026. Why can't they just tear up those contracts and say, hey, we want to start the 12-team playoff next year?
Well, my understanding is that they are either going to start this in 2023 or in 2026. So they have made a pact with themselves, I guess you may say, that nothing will happen the next 2 years. Now, look, I'm with you. The sooner they could get it going, the better. Now, I know you've got a maze of contracts and so forth that they're dealing with, but, I mean, my goodness, we saw last year where the SEC went to a 9-game schedule in the overall, obviously in the league. So it really, I agree with you. It really does make you wonder why this can't be acted upon quicker than it would be. But the good thing is they have started. There are going to be meetings in July in Chicago among some of the different committees. But again, we are dealing with, at the end, 11 presidents and chancellors from 10 conferences, plus Notre Dame, to where they are hammering out the details with this. I'm just excited they're getting going on it, and that it looks like we'll move beyond 4, but where we go from there still remains the big mystery.
Yeah, and I haven't really looked through it all or read a lot about it, Brent. Are they still, with going to the 12 teams, are we still going to implement the bowl games?
Yeah, they will somehow. Now, from Pete Thamel's article on this, what Pete is talking about would be the first 4 seeds would get a bye, and seeds 5 through 8 would host teams 9 through 12, get this now, at home sites. Now, still, there's so much to be figured out here, but I don't think there's going to be doubt that the bowls will make some part of it. But I do think, as far as if you're going to 12, as far as your fan bases are concerned, I think that's only fair, Shane, frankly, that your top 4 would get a bye, and then, say, 5 through 12 would get a home game. So that would certainly help fans with travel and at least assure them something early on to be able to see their team play without having to go to Timbuktu in order for that to happen. So, again, there's just a lot that's going to play out. You obviously will have automatic bids. You will have your wild card, shall we say, that will be involved with this too, at large spots. Don't know what the money's going to be, but the money will be incredible. I think that a lot of that will take care of itself along this line. So this has stirred up a whole lot of discussion this week after it came out on Tuesday.
So, and again, like I said, I just skimmed over it. Will they get rid of the conference championship games?
No,
Good.
Absolutely not. No,
Good.
I don't. Hey, Shane, they can have 100 teams involved, and they will not get away and get rid of the conference championship games.
Yeah, that's good. Now, have they said anything about, because right now you got a 12-game schedule.
Right.
And you hear about these administrators, the season goes on too long, academics, which to me is the biggest crock of bull, because
it is.
In football, you were gone away from campus almost less than 24 hours. I mean, you fly out on a Friday afternoon, you spend the night in a hotel, you play a game, and you're back home a couple hours after the game. So you're not gone, and you're not away from schoolwork and all that. So has there been any talk about still playing the 12 games, still having the conference championship and the bowls, all that together for this 12-team playoff?
No, nothing new on that yet, and I'm not sure that there will be a game sacrificed. I think a lot of people may mention it. But again, the thing we're talking about here is there are 130 teams in college football, roughly, and you're still talking about only 12 of them, even if they do that, involved with the playoffs. So to be fair to all these other teams, they certainly should be able to play a full season and in a bowl game if they earn that. So no, at this point, nothing that we have seen early on to reduce the season more than it is now.
We're speaking with Brent Beaird here on the Titan MRO Hotline. You can follow Brent on Twitter at Brent Beaird. At Chris Storing Mortgage, they do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Storing Mortgage today at 352-244-0840. Brent, getting in the SEC hang on just a second, about the recruiting. Obviously, last week, I know we talked about it yesterday on my show with Blake Alderman, recruiting guy for 24/7. I know it was a big weekend in Gainesville with recruits, but with all the sources you have, especially within the SEC, I mean, recruiting is cranking up big time now with these kids being able to come on campus and have face-to-face contact with the coaches.
No question. And you're going to see coaches that will be able to visit. The recruits are coming on. You're going to see a lot of summer camps. And again, things only started on the 1st. So it's only been a few days since that has happened. And I think what's really crucial here for these recruits who are visiting, and a lot of them have got half a dozen visits in June alone, is, and you remember this, you can't decide and make your decision after the first visits. Shane, some of these guys get excited, don't they? And they hear the recruiting pitch, and they see all the girls, and they see the facilities, and they take their picture in the team uniform, and that just overwhelms them. And the coaches can be very persuasive, as you know. So the best advice for them would be take all your visits before you make any kind of decision. And obviously now we've got the and this is not recruiting, but we got the transfer rule going too. So yes, absolutely, recruiting now, dead period lifted, and it is all full speed ahead.
No doubt about it. All right, Brent, let's go through the league. What's going on in Tuscaloosa?
A bunch, frankly. Number one is Nick Saban and Alabama have agreed on a 3-year extension, extending his deal to 2029, his base salary and talent fee, $8.4 million. And there's still a lot of people, and I agree with this, that whatever they pay him, it will be a bargain. So he obviously is going to be among the, if not the highest coach, certainly among that list. Question always remains, how long will he coach? And I mean, Shane, they just hooked up a series with Oklahoma State, and they'll be playing in 28, 29. It won't surprise me at all if Saban's still on the sidelines then. I mean, look, he's 70 years old on Halloween. And I hope when I'm 70, my stomach is that flat, and I've got that much hair, and I've got that much energy. So it really is amazing. Now, in some other Alabama news, they've had some guys who are leaving the program. Kyle Edwards, who is a running back, is in the transfer portal. Not sure where he's going to go yet. Jurass Parks, who's an outside linebacker, is no longer on the roster, but there's no word if he has entered the transfer portal, so we're not quite sure about that. Keelan Robinson, who frankly is a really good running back, and they were stacked so much with running backs, they moved him to wide receiver, is transferring to Texas to be with Steve Sarkisian, who was on the Alabama staff. So besides Saban's contract, some player movement going on with the Crimson Tide too.
Yeah, in Arkansas, they lost an offensive line coach to LSU, I read.
Yeah, they're probably going to promote Cody Kennedy from tight ends coach to offensive line coach. You're right, Brad Davis ended up going to LSU, probably got double the money he was getting at Arkansas in order to go to LSU. Now, again, Sam Pittman is one of the best offensive line coaches in the nation. So, and I'm not saying he will do everything over Cody Kennedy and take his job away, but it's kind of like Alabama, whoever the D coordinator is, Nick Saban is still basically the defensive coordinator. So, yes, they will be able to fill that position. And Shane, look, you know, when you lose a coach this late in the season, it's not easy to go out and get somebody. So that's why a lot of these guys are promoted from within.
Yeah. I saw somewhere, it was something on Twitter I saw, Brent, where they were talking about the top athletic program from all the sports this year in the SEC. And I want to say it was Arkansas. They've had a remarkable year. If you go and look at how all their sports have fared this year, I may have misread it, but it was pretty incredible. So they've had a great year. Anything going on in Auburn?
Well, let me dovetail what you said. You've got the number one baseball team in Arkansas. You've got a basketball team with Musselman who really played well. And where they do well, Shane, as you remember, is they've got an incredible track program in some programs like that. So
they won. They also won the SEC in softball. They tied with Florida this year.
Absolutely. So they do have a program going. Shane, you mentioned Auburn, former Central Michigan freshman running back Jordan Ingram is transferred to Auburn. Auburn initially offered him. So did LSU, Arkansas, and Tennessee. Makes you kind of wonder how he ended up at Central Michigan, but he did. Mm-hmm. So, and they need some depth there with Sean Shivers and Tank Bigsby. And they've also got a commitment from a JUCO cornerback, Rotarius Torrance, who originally committed to Tennessee. Now he changed his mind. So he should add some depth there too.
Anything going on in Athens that we need to know about?
Freshman defensive back Darren Branch has left the program. Matter of fact, he has not been with them for a while. Not sure where he's going to go. He's not in the transfer portal. So sometimes, Shane, these guys are kind of in limbo. You may remember Alabama defensive back Brandon Turnage left Alabama, went to Athens, and there have been rumors all week that something is not working out in Athens and that he may be leaving and going somewhere else. That this is part of and you mentioned this before, the problem with the transfer portal is the grass always looks greener on the other side, doesn't it, Shane? And then you get to the other side, and for whatever reason, it doesn't work. And look, we're not saying he won't be back at Georgia, but right now his high school coach said that he's going through some things. This is Michael Fair, who coached him in Lafayette High School in Oxford. So it's still kind of up in the air. And part of that is Darian Kendrick, the former Clemson All-ACC cornerback, is transferring to Georgia. Now he's got to get some legal stuff straightened out because he was in possession of a gun illegally and also had some marijuana. So with all that said, you've just got some comings and goings with Georgia and a guy like Turnage who we're still not sure what he's going to do.
Yeah, it's some crazy stuff going on out there. What is going on at LSU?
They've got a running back, Coventry Bradford, who has entered the transfer portal, 4-star prospect. Didn't play that much, appeared in just 5 games, didn't have a lot of yardage, limited in spring by hamstring. So, but he still have 4 seasons of eligibility if he goes through with the transfer. So I think they'll be okay with that. Now, Brad Davis, as we mentioned, from Arkansas, has come over to be the new offensive line coach. So they've got that done. I put this note in here, Shane. I'm sure it probably got your attention. LSU returns all 9 starting offensive linemen and defensive linemen, and 8 of them are seniors.
Wow.
So I know all this A&M talk, but Shane, when you've got this many guys who are veterans coming back on the line of scrimmage for LSU, can you see, particularly with they've got not 1 but 2 guys who could start at quarterback? Is there any reason that LSU is getting the love they are right now?
No, and like you said, a lot of people thought Max Johnson, the way he played at the end of the year, he would be the starter. But the people that I've talked to, I think Miles Brennan is going to win that job. Yeah.
As a matter of fact, Matt Hayes, I give credit where it's due. When Miles Brennan got hurt, Matt put together a projection on his numbers, And if he had not been hurt, he was heading for a 4,400-yard year and 44 touchdowns, which would have rivaled what Joe Burrow did in 2019. So Shane, here's the question. As a quarterback, in your Miles Brennan, he gets hurt. He has that abdominal core injury. So Max Johnson has to come in and did a good job to his credit. So the age-old question is, if you get hurt and you're a quarterback, do you automatically lose your job, or do they give it to you and name you number one, or unless they have a quarterback competition in the fall drills?
Yeah, that's a great question, and that would be a good one to ask Coach Spurrier one day what his thoughts are. What's going on up in Knoxville, Tennessee?
Plenty, frankly. They have their quarterback, Caden Salter, who's a freshman, and also another freshman linebacker, Aaron Willis. Both have been reinstated. They were suspended in early April. Now, again, we don't know how much Salter may win the job at quarterback, but still, Josh Heupel, pretty good working at quarterback. So at least both those guys are back in the fold. And Tennessee also had a former linebacker, Martavius French, who looks like he is going to Middle Tennessee right now, too. So Tennessee baseball team, by the way, playing very well. Hoping that the football team see some improvement over time, too. So, and I still think they'll be much better offensively. I don't think that they'll be able to stop anybody defensively, Shane, but if they can score some points and look good doing it, that might make the fans happy for a little bit.
Well, I think they want to see offense in Knoxville, the fan base. I don't think they care if they win or lose. They want to just see first downs and points. Texas A&M, you and I have talked a lot about them on this show. It seems like they're kind of flying under the radar right now for whatever reason. Any news out of College Station?
Yeah, this is interesting. The second game of the year, they play Colorado. And Colorado's quarterback, Sam Neuer, this kid last year was a second-team conference selection. So they thought well enough of him. He's 6'4", 220. He's going to be a super senior. He comes from Oregon. Now, his numbers weren't great, but he still played well. Now, he is leaving the team. I'm not sure why, but, I mean, good grief, Shane, if you're a second-team conference player, I don't understand why you leave the team, but there are always reasons. Now, the question is, who's going to replace him? And one of the guys, and this is the insanity, frankly, Shane, of the transfer portal, but one of the guys who may replace him is J.T. Shrout, who is a sophomore who transferred from Tennessee.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm not saying he's going to win the job because Brendan Lewis and Drew Carter are also in that too. But can you appreciate how nutty that is? That you've got that A&M going to Colorado, and the starting quarterback could be this kid J.T. Shrout, who was at Tennessee.
Yeah, that is crazy. Brent, I think I saw, skipping over to the ACC, we don't talk a lot about them, but FSU early in the year had a big-time recruit, a quarterback recruit out of Arizona, I believe the state of Arizona. He is now decommitted to them, correct?
Yeah, that's right. Yes. Now, I think your reality is, I mean, they feel pretty good, I think, right now about their quarterback room. Now, obviously, Mackenzie Milton comes in from UCF. They've got Jordan Travis. They've also got the Purdy kid. And by the way, their offensive coordinator is this is the first time since Jimbo Fisher left that their offensive coordinator has been there 2 years in a row. So they're looking for obviously some consistency there. But look, I think they'll be okay with the guys that they've got at this point, even though the guy decommitted. I mean, look, the way things are now, Shane, he could change his mind and frankly come back at some point. So But I still think that they will be they'll be better. And by the way, the kid we're talking about is Nico Markole. As Shane said, is from Arizona, so he may end up going back. He was a left-hander, by the way, which is interesting. Now, what they've got left right now is A.J. Duffy from IMG, is a four-star quarterback that is committed with the 2022 class. But look, it's still early. They've got quite some time to sign some quarterbacks, and I'm sure they will. But I've got to think that they'll be okay in high school kids, and certainly with the guys that they've got now and there coming back. That could be a good offense this coming season.
Yeah. Brent, I know I've talked to you about it many times, and you said it earlier in the show. It's, the transfer portal is not always a success for a lot of kids. And I've joked about somebody doing an article on, since the transfer portal came into existence, how many guys have entered it and are still sitting there or pretty much gave up football. Have you, with all your contacts, has anyone done a story on that yet?
I know they're trying to compile some numbers with that, but it's such a changing thing all the time. They're struggling with it too. That now here is, by the way, this is from Max Olson. This is not exactly the numbers combined, but it would tell you some things. This is Power 5 scholarship players in the portal since October of 2020. Tennessee's had 25. Mississippi State and Missouri have had 20. Auburn and Vanderbilt have had 19. Florida State's had 15. Notre Dame's had 15. Arkansas has had 14. A&M's had 13. LSU has had 11. Alabama, Florida, NC State have had 10. And then you've had Stanford with 1. Miami has only had 5. So, but look, you hit it. The problem is, and what I've been told is the real problem with the transfer portal is the fact that a lot of the kids who get in there are either players who haven't played much or they're walk-ons, and they end up in the transfer portal and they frankly don't know what to do. So everybody talks about, hey, let's go ahead and transfer. This should work out real easy. But the reality of it is, Shane, as you mentioned several times, this thing could. The bad thing is, it can almost ruin a kid's career if he's not careful.
There's no question about it. Brent, before we let you go, I know we talked last couple of weeks about all the magazines with Brent Beaird waiting out when Publix opens up. Have you purchased all your magazines now, or are you still waiting on a few?
Well, we're still waiting on Phil Steele. He comes out later. As a matter of fact, he pretty well puts on Twitter every day an update. In the latest one said that I think it goes to the printer in about 10 days. Now, Athlon and Lindy's are out. We're still waiting on Lindy's SEC edition, but Athlon has the SEC and the National edition. So they are on the stands. And again, we talked about Street and Smith not having one this year. I'm going to be curious if Sporting News is going to have one. I need to check on that. Now, look, there's some other previews, obviously, on the internet. I mean, College Football News does a good one, too, among others. But, Shane, brother, there's just something about having one in your hand, using it as a reference guide when you need it, right?
Absolutely. So let me ask you this, Brent. I just picture your garage, or you don't have a basement because you live in Florida, but you probably have this one room or a storage unit, probably.
Correct.
I mean, how far back could Brent Beaird go and pull out an Athlon's?
I've got some that could probably go 30 years, frankly. Easily 10 to 15. So, and look,
30 would be when I was playing.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, I better look for that one, Shane.
I'll sign it for you. I'll sign it for you.
Yeah,
Brent.
absolutely. Yeah, I appreciate that. And I've also got media guides that have gone back that long too. So, now the great thing about it is we are having media days, and as of yesterday, the SEC sent out media day credential request. And look, in about I think it's Monday the 19th, if I've got my date right, for July, we will be in media day, Shane. So it is basically 5 or 6 weeks away at the most.
Can't wait. Brent, great stuff as always, buddy. I appreciate you joining the program. We'll talk to you next week. Keep reading up on those magazines.
Can't wait, pal. Take care.
All right, that's Brent Beaird. Join us on the Titan MR hotline. You can follow Brent on Twitter at Brent Beaird. We're going to take our final time out of this Thursday edition. We'll come back. We'll wrap it up.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, where you matter most. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. G-Tech Sport, keep your athletes in the game with G-Tech Sport. QC Kinetics, non-surgical regeneration, live pain-free. Celebration Point Town Center, Center State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Adams Rib Company, Doreen Weeby Realtor Caldwell Banker, MM Parish, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Wrap Spot, Okido America, Gators Dockside, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Meadowbrook Golf Course, Silverback Concrete Company. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit potupwithshane.com and click the advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
For all type of restaurant people, managers, servers, bartenders, hosts, cooks, dishwashers, bussers. If you think you're good in the restaurant business, then give us a call.
Spurrier's Gridiron Grill job fair is open now. All you have to do is go to spurriersdraft.com and fill out an application.
We're looking for the good team members, and we're looking for people with a wonderful attitude that can make Spurrier's Gridiron Grill the best we can possibly be. To apply, go to spurriersdraft.com.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Center State Bank is now South State Bank, but we put business first. We understand that small businesses need a community business partner that they can rely on. South State still has 4 convenient Alachua County locations. South State Bank, banking forward, member FDIC. I want to thank Mike Bianchi from the Orlando Sentinel and Brent Beaird, our college football analyst, for joining us on the Titan MR hotline for today's program. Also, folks, if you know anyone out there, one of our sponsors, Silverback Concrete, they're still looking for some CDL drivers. If anyone's interested, go to their website, silverbackconcrete.co, and get in contact with them. And if you need any concrete done, lay you down a new driveway or a basketball court in the backyard, give them a call. That's silverbackconcrete.co. Also, make sure your friends and family tell them to follow our programs on all the different digital platforms out there. The more, the merrier. So please have all your friends and family follow our program. Today's show is a wrap, brought to you by Wrap Spot. Be safe out there. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care.